The following message is being transmitted at the request of the Illinois National Guard and the Governor of Illinois. At 1:03 p.m., a very large and disc-shaped object was seen traveling over the city of Chicago. The object, which is believed to be a UFO, is approximately 1,000 yards wide and is 20 yards tall. The UFO is not believed to be hostile at this time. In addition, other cities in the state of Illinois have similar UFO objects in the sky. These cities include Springfield, St. Louis, Union, Kankakee, Peoria, and Aurora. The UFOs in these cities are also not hostile. However, the governor of Illinois has declared a state of emergency and is asking everyone who lives within the listed cities to evacuate. To prepare for an evacuation, pack food, water, a battery-powered radio with extra batteries, clothes, and a first aid kit. Pack enough of these necessities for at least a week. Shelters have been set up in the cities of Green Bay, Wisconsin, Indianapolis, Indiana, Evansville, Indiana, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Madison, Wisconsin. Other shelters are being set up at this time to support the large amount of evacuees. This evacuation is not mandatory at this time. However, if you do choose to evacuate, take as less cars as possible, and do not take pets unless they are used for service purposes. In addition, all public transport in the state of Illinois has been postponed to help with the evacuation. All buses, trains, subways, and any other public transport is currently providing evacuation for citizens. Repeating, a very large and disc-shaped object has been spotted across many cities in the state of Illinois. An evacuation has been authorized, but is not mandatory at this time, as the UFO is not hostile. This message will repeat in 1 minute. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the National Weather Service and the Governor of Illinois. A sudden blizzard has struck the entire state of Illinois. At this time, it is unknown how the blizzard was formed, but is believed to the actions of the UFOs which were spotted in multiple cities across the state several hours ago. Temperatures in the state of Illinois have dropped to -20 degrees, with wind chills down to -40 degrees. Residents of the state of Illinois, evacuate immediately. A statewide evacuation across the listed states has been implemented by the state's governors. The evacuation is not mandatory. If you choose to stay, you do so at your own risk. To evacuate, pack enough food, water, and clothes for at least 3 days, a battery-powered radio with extra batteries, and if possible, use as less vehicles as possible. It is not known if temperatures across the state of Illinois will drop, but it is speculated that the possibility is prominent. At this time, the Illinois National Guard has been dispatched to help evacuate all citizens. If you have anyone in hospitals, nursing homes, or schools, do not attempt to pick them up, as these facilities have their own evacuation procedures. Refrain from taking pets or livestock, unless they serve as service animals. The UFOs in question have not at this time been hostile, nor has it been proven that they have caused the questionable blizzard. However, authorities believe that the UFOs are responsible, since the blizzard has hit statewide in July. The UFOs themselves have not moved from their previous location, and no other UFOs have been spotted. When you evacuate, avoid traveling toward the UFO sites, as these objects could become hostile at any time. Repeating, a sudden blizzard has struck the state of Illinois, and a mandatory evacuation has been implemented. This message will repeat in 1 minute. This message will repeat in 1 minute. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the Dallas Police Department. The UFOs that were seen in the state of Illinois have been spotted in the greater Dallas area. At this time, the UFOs are not hostile. However, a mandatory evacuation is being implemented in the DFW area. If you live within 30 miles of downtown Dallas or Fort Worth, you are in the jurisdiction of the evacuation. To prepare for an evacuation, pack enough food, water, and clothing for at least a week, a battery-powered radio, and a first aid kit. In addition, use only one vehicle to transport your family if possible. Do not attempt to pick up residents at nursing homes or hospitals, as these facilities have their own evacuation procedures. At this time, UFOs have been spotted above downtown Dallas, Fort Worth, and Arlington. The UFOs in question are approximately 1,000 yards wide and 20 yards tall. Standing below the UFO results in total darkness, as the UFO blocks out the sun. In addition, a loud vibration is being emitted at this time. The vibration does not harm or stun citizens, however, that can change at any time. Repeating, UFOs have been spotted in the DFW area. A mandatory evacuation has been implemented for residents living within 30 miles of Dallas, Fort Worth, and Arlington. This message will repeat in 10 minutes. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the Center for Disease Control and the Texas Department of Public Health. Over the last few hours, a very large number of residents have been checked into hospitals with rabies. Currently, over 6,000 residents have been admitted into containment, with more residents expected to be infected over the next few hours. Symptoms of the disease include foaming out of the mouth, speech impediment, muscle spasms, and red eyes. If you see anybody with these symptoms, seclude yourself from the individual, as he is considered dangerous. If you think you are infected with the disease, admit yourself into your local emergency medical center. A quarantine has been implemented for the DFW area. If you live within 20 miles of the downtown Dallas and Fort Worth area, you are not allowed to leave your homes. All citizens are expected to be in their homes within the next 8 hours. If you do not live in the DFW area and are trapped within the borders, admit yourself to the nearest hospital for testing. If you test negative, you will be allowed to leave the area. A possible curfew could be set to the DFW area if riots occur. At this time, there are no riots occurring, and no person who has been infected with rabies has escaped containment. The UFOs that were spotted in the DFW area are still present. However, it is not known if the UFOs are the culprit of the outbreak. The UFOs have not moved, and no sign of intelligence has been spotted. However, stay away from the UFOs, as they could become hostile at any moment. Repeating, a rabies outbreak has occurred in the DFW area. If you are infected with the disease, admit yourself to your local emergency center. This message will repeat in 1 minute. The following message is transmitted at the request of the Center for Disease Control and the Texas Department of Public Health. The situation regarding the rabies outbreak has worsened. People infected with rabies have been reported outside of the DFW area. Currently, over 1,000 people have been infected in several major cities. These cities include Austin, Houston, Texarkana, Tyler, and El Paso. The governor of Texas has implemented a statewide quarantine as a result of the outbreak. If you live within the state of Texas and are attempting to leave the state, turn around now. You will not be allowed to leave the state. Only military and medical personnel will be allowed to cross. If you are trapped within the state of Texas and live in another state, admit yourself into a local medical stationary for testing of rabies. If you test negative, you will be allowed to leave the state. However, have all paperwork given to you from the medical stationary at the ready, or you will not be allowed to cross. If you attempt to leave the state without the proper paperwork, you will be arrested and searched. In addition, if you are in the state and currently reside in a different country, follow the same instructions and call your local embassy. Planes leaving with foreign visitors are leaving airports every 2 hours, but will only last for another 24 hours. A possible curfew could be implemented if riots are started due to the disease. At this time, several small riots are taking place within the city limits of Dallas, Fort Worth, and El Paso. These riots are contained. However, if they get out of control, a curfew from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. will be implemented. At this time, 250 people have died from the rabies outbreak, and the cause of the sudden outbreak is believed to be the UFOs spotted in the DFW area. However, this cannot be confirmed at this time, as the UFOs are not hostile at this time. However, if you live within the DFW area, do not attempt to go near the UFOs. Members of the National Guard are currently surrounding the downtown area. Schools in the infected cities have been closed until further notice, as well as places of business. Cities that are infected with rabies are currently under a curfew from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. If you do not live within the city limits of the infected cities, the curfew does not apply to you. Symptoms of the disease include foaming out of the mouth, speech impediment, muscle spasms, and red eyes. If you believe you are infected with rabies, seclude yourself from others, and admit yourself into a local hospital. A message from the President will be broadcasting shortly. Stay tuned to your local news media station for a message from the President. This message will repeat in 5 minutes. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the National Weather Service and the Illinois National Guard. The blizzard that struck the state of Illinois has been confirmed to be artificial. At 4:37 Central Time, alien-like creatures were seen emerging from the UFOs. The UFOs have landed in Lake Michigan, and creatures were seen leaving the UFO, and the creatures were reported to be blasting members of the National Guard with artificial ice guns. These guns are capable of shooting ice particles and freezing body parts within a few seconds. At this time, over 5,000 creatures have been spotted, and more are to be expected. Members of the Illinois National Guard, as well as the U.S. Army, have been dispatched to the greater Chicago area to contain these creatures. The creatures in question are 6 foot tall, have sharp claws 3 inches long, and lack a lower jaw which exposes the back of the creature's throat and teeth. Currently, very few weapons are capable of injuring these creatures, and only around 150 have been killed. In addition, it has been confirmed that the other UFOs have been reported to land in Lake Michigan, although creatures haven't emerged from those ships. At this time, all residents of Chicago are required to evacuate if you haven't done so. Set-up shelters have been set up in the cities of Green Bay, Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, St. Louis, Missouri, Indianapolis, Indiana, Little Rock, Arkansas, and Madison, Wisconsin. All public transportation in the greater Chicago area has been suspended, and all trains, buses, and aircraft are aiding in the evacuation of citizens. Planes are leaving airports every 10 minutes, while trains and buses are leaving every 20. To evacuate, bring enough food and water for at least 3 days, clothing, a flashlight and a battery-powered radio with extra batteries, and a first aid kit. Do not attempt to pick up patients in nursing homes or hospitals, as these facilities have their own evacuation methods. Repeating, creatures were seen emerging from the UFOs over Lake Michigan, and a mandatory evacuation has been implemented for the greater Chicago area. This message will repeat in 1 minute. We interrupt your programming. This is a national emergency. Important instructions will follow. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the United States government. Strange events have been occurring all across the United States. UFOs have been spotted in at least 100 major cities all across the country, as well as some being spotted in Canada. A mandatory evacuation of cities with a population over 100,000 people has been implemented across all of the country. If you live within any city of over 100,000 people, you are required to evacuate. To evacuate, take enough food, water, and clothing for at least 5 days, a battery-powered radio with extra batteries, a first aid kit, and a flashlight. Shelters have been set up in the states of Wyoming, Montana, North and South Dakota, and Idaho. These states have not reported any UFOs within their borders. All public transportation have had their schedules canceled and are aiding in the evacuation of major cities. The states where UFOs have been spotted include Washington, Oregon, California, Alaska, Hawaii, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, Maine, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Florida, and Georgia. The states stated have reported many sightings of non-hostile UFOs. However, a mandatory evacuation has been implemented for your safety due to the situation in Texas and Illinois. The states of Texas and Illinois are not included in this evacuation, as many cases of rabies have been reported in both states. It has been confirmed that UFOs in both of these states are inhabited with hostile creatures and are currently infecting nearby civilians with rabies. If you live in Texas or Illinois, admit yourself to a local medical facility for testing of rabies. If your results are negative, you will be allowed to leave the state via Army transportation. For the state of Texas, the U.S. Army has set up evacuation zones in Midland, Del Rio, and Laredo. If you test negative, go to one of these facilities, show one of the organizers your paperwork that proves you are negative, and you will be evacuated. If you encounter anyone infected with rabies, use firearms to protect yourself. If you get infected, seclude yourself from others, and admit yourself into a local hospital. For the state of Illinois, evacuation zones have been set up in the cities of Union, St. Louis, Kansas City, Joy, and Hardin. Follow the previously mentioned instructions to evacuate. Repeating, many UFO sightings have been seen across several U.S. states as well as Canada, and a mandatory evacuation has been implemented across the country. This message will repeat in 1 minute. We interrupt your programming. This is a global emergency. Important instructions will follow. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the United States government. The situation involving the UFOs has significantly worsened. All UFOs spotted in the United States have been reported to be hostile. Alien-like creatures were seen exiting the UFOs after they landed, and killing anybody in sight. The aliens cannot be killed with bullets, as their skin cannot be penetrated. The aliens can only die by ways of being burned, frozen, or by drowning the aliens. At this time, there is an estimated 1,000 UFOs across the country, and more have been reported to be entering. Each UFO is reported to be holding at least 500 aliens each. If you have not evacuated major population centers, protect yourself at all costs. At this time, all emergency responders have abandoned their post in any city greater than 100,000 in population. It is not known if these creatures can be destroyed. However, other countries have also been affected. These include Canada, Mexico, England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, Iceland, and Denmark. NATO has been debating if nuclear weapons should be used to stop the aliens. At this time there is no nuclear threat. I repeat, there is no nuclear threat. Russia and China have reported UFOs entering their country as well, but at this time are not hostile. If you are not in an underground shelter, travel to your nearest military base to be transported to one. The aliens at this time have not exited any major cities, but this could change at any time. Repeating, major attacks from UFOs have been reported worldwide, and are killing any humans in sight. Anybody that has not evacuated from major cities, you are on your own. This message will repeat in 30 seconds. We interrupt your programming. This is a national emergency. Important instructions will follow. The following message has been reported at the request of the United States government. At 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, NATO, along with the U.S. government, has come to the conclusion that the only way to defeat these aliens is to use nuclear bombs. Every country that has nuclear warheads will be using them strategically to defend themselves. At this time, all 1,045 cities that have been overrun with aliens will be nuked in the next 5 minutes. If you are currently located within 10 miles of any of these cities, it is too late to evacuate. Find the nearest shelter you can to protect yourself. Gather all loved ones, and pray to your God. In addition, the rabies outbreak that was reported in Texas has spread to all of the U.S. states. If you are infected with rabies, you are advised to take your own life to protect others. The blizzard reported in Illinois has reached its peak, with temperatures reaching -125 degrees. If you live in Illinois, do everything you can to protect yourself from the cold. It is unknown if the country can live through this nightmare. However, it is important to stay calm. Any panic may cause a spread of disease, and arrest could be made. This message will repeat constantly. We interrupt your programming. This is a national emergency. Important instructions will follow. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the U.S. Army. The alien creatures have made attacks against shelters. At this time, all shelters holding civilians from major cities have been destroyed. It is unknown if there are any survivors. It is estimated that at least 50 million Americans have been murdered, but this number has not been confirmed. As of this moment, the United States Constitution has been deemed null and void. All laws regarding the ownerships of weapons has been lifted. If you want to fight, admit yourself into any U.S. military base, and you will be transported to a war zone. However, if you use weapons to kill anything but aliens, you will be shot on sight. If you believe you have rabies, you will not be permitted to fight, and will be shot on sight. Currently over 100 million Americans have been infected and killed with rabies. The state of Illinois will not be given any military support, as temperatures have reached -150 degrees. If you live within the state of Illinois, you are on your own. Currently, around 750 UFOs have been destroyed, but there are still around 300 left. There are an estimated 6,000 aliens left that survived the nuclear bombs. The alien creatures have been reported to all be heading into New York City. The Navy has been dispatched to surround the island, and the Air Force is preventing UFOs from taking off. All civilians who fight in this war, and survive, will be deemed heroes, and will receive major incentives. All civilians who do not fight will not be considered cowards. The United States will rebuild as well as the rest of the world. This message will repeat constantly. God bless us all.
We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be.
The following is an administrative message from the United States government. The war is over. All of the aliens have been killed, and the UFOs have been destroyed. The rabies outbreak has ended in the state of Texas, and the blizzard in Illinois has ended. It is now safe to return to your homes. If your home has been destroyed, stay tuned for further instructions. We will rebuild and prosper. The President will be addressing the nation shortly. Stay tuned for a message from the President.